Boners during sleep.
Boner measurements.
Yeah. So that during sleep tells you just about everything you need to know.
What is the deal with the super sleep you've been talking about?
That one took off.
Yeah, what's super sleep?
that took off. Yeah.
How do we do it? I mean,
Yeah.
I think you said you're sleeping for like 10 or 12 hours.
Well, I've had this thing that I've done over the years, particularly as I started getting older, which was a couple times a month, just try to get in a good 12 hours of sleep. You know, so I'd make it a
I'm
point.
just going to move your microphone a little bit more this way since you're kind of naturally leaning towards me a little bit more. So I'm just going to go.
There you
Is that okay?
Yeah.
You good with that?
Thank you.
So it was a couple times a month, trying to make a job out of going to bed early. So just try and sleep from about 7 to 7. And then what happened to me a few months back was I kind of hit a bit of a wall. And it just was, I'm going to be 57 in a month. And I just kind of had a dip in testosterone. And when your hormones dip, it'll wreck your sleep. You know, so it's really important to keep your hormones up. I've talked with Carl Lenore about this, and kind of have this closet idea that essentially, as long as you're sexually viable, it's a benefit to the herd. And as soon as you're not, you're just competing for resources. So your body works to get you out of the picture as soon as your hormones dip. So that was one element why my sleep, I kind of finally figured that out. And then the other element was that I had stopped using the blanket that I use, and I was just kind of sleeping without a blanket. And it wrecked my sleep. So I just did a lot of research, and I kind of figured out, okay, it's hormones and it's skin temperature. I kind of figured that out. And so I corrected the two, and then voila, sleep's back to normal. Got my testosterone up. Okay, great. And so from that, now I'm just trying to catch up. And so I did this post calling it super sleep, and then everybody's like, how do I do super sleep? But basically, yeah, it's just, number one, it's making a job to get to sleep, and then just a huge list of check boxes so that you can get a lot of sleep in, a lot of deep sleep. And so I think it's a really good practice as you get older to just kind of try and do a couple times a month. Yeah.
So how did you realize that your testosterone was going down? Because you say you hit a wall. Did you like get some blood work back and you saw your test was down, and you also like physically you felt something within a week or something? How'd you realize that?
One's just the boner measure. Yeah. So boners during sleep.
Boner measurements.
Yeah. So that during sleep tells you just about everything you need to know. Okay. And as long as you're kind of in the teenage zone, you know everything's working. The other thing too is energy.
Wait, like when you wake up, like having a morning wood's what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, all through the night. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He's like, don't tell me you don't do that right now. Yeah. So yeah, that's a huge piece of the equation.
That's actually a big deal to talk about.
No pun intended.
How big?
Like
here we go.
How big of a deal?
Yeah.
Here we go.
Inches of...
But this is really interesting, because that's something that I only really thought about morning wood. I never thought about, is it normal to just have a boner through the night? So that's something that you think that men should pay attention to as far as their hormonal levels, as far as their vitality, having a boner through the night.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, because
most people don't think about that, man. I didn't think about that until you just mentioned it.
Well, you don't think about it when you're young because it's there all the time, and then as you get older, you don't think about it because it's not there. You know, you only think about it when you restore it, and you're like, oh my gosh, I missed that. So that's there now. Yeah, so it's a big predictor of things. And the other thing is just energy. So testosterone and energy production are kind of related. You know, testosterone helps.
Any ideas on what the hell's going on inside the body to make you have a boner randomly in the middle of the night?
Yeah, you have hormone production. Yeah,
just like a cascade of testosterone, maybe, or
your hormones are working. So anyways, all that to say, you consistently see that with people over 50 when their hormones get disrupted, their sleep gets disrupted at the same time. And so you have to correct both. You can't leave the one or the other. And it's just, actually, that's a big cycle. I'm sure we'll talk about sleep here. But anyways, restored, which is another interesting thing, is skin temperature. So we're talking about cooling the body down and heating the body up to get to sleep. And it kind of creates a lot of confusion, like, well, should you get cold? Should you get hot? And what I found for me was the answer is that it's neither cold nor hot. It's a range. Okay, so there's a range where the skin needs to be. The skin needs to be between 87 and 95. And I'm not talking about the room. I'm just talking about the temperature at the surface of the skin. Okay, and when that's between 87 to 95, it induces sleep. And everybody's number is different. Some people give you 95, some people 87. But whatever your sleep sleep number is, whatever your sleep number is. If you're too far above that, like your back is sweaty, you're not going to go to sleep. Okay. If you're too far below that, like it's too cold, the cold will wake you up. So there's just a range. And again, I like things that you can just prove. So that's an easy one. Just pull your blanket off at night if you have a really cold room and watch. The cold will wake you up. Cover yourself, get the right amount of blanket, you'll sleep sound. So yeah, so those two big things, I kind of got all that corrected and then been working on just getting my sleep caught up.
Hey guys, you like cereal. I like cereal. Let's not eat the bad stuff though. That's why we've partnered with Magic Spoon. Magic Spoon has number one, amazing macros, 0 grams of sugar, 4 grams of carbs, 14 grams of protein, and 140 calories per serving. You're not getting all the icky sugar that you get from normal cereal. Magic Spoon is the way to go. That's why we love it and it fits our diet. Andrew, how can people get it?
Absolutely. You guys got to head over to magicspoon.com/powerproject. You guys will see the variety pack. That's 4 different flavors, and it's really an awesome way to kind of dip your toe into this cereal bowl. So that way you guys can figure out which flavor you like the most. And when you go there, you're actually going to receive $5 off that variety pack. Again, magicspoon.com/powerproject. Links to them down in the description. Let's get back to the video.
I'm discovering as you get older, the big animal, the big dog in the fight is ATP synthesis. So there's a scientist, I think it was James Blackstock in 1989. He calculated the amount of ATP the body needs to make every day. And I don't know if this is true, but if it's anywhere near true, it's fascinating. And what he calculated was that you need to make your body weight in ATP every day. Your body weight. So 220 pounds of ATP you need to synthesize every day. Okay? That's astounding. So if you think about, well, how do I do that? How do I synthesize 220 pounds of ATP? Is it through food? No, it's through breathing. Breathing is the way you do it. And ATP in the body works like money. Works very much like money in a factory. So if you have a factory that makes Teslas and it has these robots, and the robots, they make the cars, but then they also maintain the factory and they do all these things. The money, or ATP, is what you need to pay for the robots to maintain the factory and to build the cars. The cars are analogous to protein, and those proteins maintain everything. If you don't have enough money, you got to cut back. You have to cut back on the robots that maintain the factory. And once you cut back on that, the factory starts going to hell quickly. So ATP is like the body's currency. And sleep, the principal thing with sleep is to restore ATP primarily, so that when you wake up, ATP levels are restored. What you see in people as they get older is they're just not making ATP at the same rate they used to.
Let's back up just a second. What is ATP?
Adenosine triphosphate. So it is the body's, it's the cell's primary source of energy. Okay, energy being defined as the ability to move stuff around, the ability to do work. So like within the cell, we need to do all kinds of things. Something needs to move into one position, so you need ATP for that. You need to make proteins, you need ATP for that. You need ATP for everything. It's the power. So if you took like an automated factory and you pulled the cord, nothing would happen. The factory would be dead. So the production of ATP is the thing.
Your energy source. I can see why you're fascinated by this, because last time we talked, you talked a lot about kind of a young body versus an old body, and we can get into that a little bit later. But some of the stuff that you're saying about sleeping, we've heard different opinions about. We've heard people say that you can't restore sleep, that you can't make up sleep. What are some of your thoughts on that? Are you finding something quite different for yourself, or is there kind of newer research maybe showing something different?
Yeah, I think there's conflicting evidence on that, and I'm just sorting through.
I mean, I'll say just for myself, I feel like I can make up sleep. Now, I would also say, like, if I had, 7 days of 3 hours of sleep, I could also understand that I might not ever really get that back, but I'm talking about like a bad night-ish or two of rough sleep, and then being able to make it up on the weekend and getting a little extra snoozing in. It seems like it does something, but I don't really truly know, because I never actually really measured it, but I do feel better when I do that.
Well, I think there's 2 pieces to that equation. I think the first piece is that there's an optimal level of ATP repletion when you wake up that leads to a feeling of being energized when you wake up. And the worst thing in the world is waking up and dragging ass. That is the worst thing in the world, because then you don't have the energy to really think, you don't have the energy to go work out, you don't have the energy to do anything. So that's kind of like priority number 1. The other piece of that would be damage that occurred from lack of sleep during a period of time, and can you ameliorate some of that? You probably can to some degree. We can repair a lot of things. So, and if I just thinking back to different studies, I think the evidence is mixed for it. So But regardless of whether or not you can or you can't, getting to a place where you're waking up like feeling energetic and refreshed is sort of like a non-negotiable. Like you have to have that. You need that because it's tied to everything else. It's tied to your ability to perform at your job, your ability to do anything, your ability to think, your ability to, do all the things that you want to do. You have to have adequate ATP repletion.